We're going to work on a sample portfolio, basically how to put together a portfolio using Illustrator. So for that, you are going to grab these images so that you can use these as examples for what you need to do, okay, so that you can follow along with the instructions. Like I said, I'll demonstrate all this stuff, try to be real quick about it so that you have time to go back to your computers and do all this stuff. I'm recording all this information so that you can scrub through it at the chipmunk speed, okay? So what we're going to do is to first set up a presentation board, and you're going to design the cover. You are going to design the pages. We're going to have facing pages because you are going to make it so that it is like a book that's open, right? That means that you have to think about a booklet not just as one page and another page, like one single page and that's empty, and another page, but you have to look at the overall composition of the two sheets. Okay, does that part make sense? Okay, so what we're going to do is to create a new document. Not responding. Okay, and then we're going to use, I'm not going to save all this stuff first. We're going to use the size of portfolio is going to be letter size. Nice 8.5 by 11 size so that you could take it over to any print place and they'll print this out for you. Okay, if you do any other size, you might have to go to a real specialist person to get this done. If you do it in a smaller size, you might have to have a place that allows cutting and such. Cutting and such is going to be a little bit difficult for your portfolio because you are going to try to print these things double-sided, and if the two images don't align back to back on the page, then you might be lopping off parts of the drawings on the back side that you really need. So, well, just use 11 by 8.5, the letter size, and you should be okay. We're going to use the landscape format, and then the bleed, we'll put 0 bleed so that we could put all the images off to the side, off to the very edge if possible. Some print services do have printers that print all the way to the edge. Most places don't, so just remember that you might have a little white border that's about, what, 1/16, eighth of an inch around the perimeter of each page. Okay, just remember that. It's not a bad thing, and I think schools understand that. That's what happens. So, but in knowing this, if you're considering doing a portfolio with a black background, maybe not do that, because every black page is going to have a white border around your perimeter. If you have a white page, it'll look like it's a full bleed production. Okay, so this is fine. I'm going to keep this as CMYK print, and then 150 PPI would be fine as well. I think, yeah, we'll just put 150 PPI. And then one important thing is this number of artboards. Since we are going to look at this presentation as a booklet with two facing sides, I'm going to select 2. You could type all this in, 2, and work on this. You can select an even number of 4, 6, whatever, and this portion right here, as soon as we put anything in more than 1, these part will highlight, right? And that is how the ordering of pages will go. So we'll keep it in this format right here, just in case you do decide to do 4 or 6 or 8 pages or something. It's just going to show as several artboards, aligned side by side and on top of each other. Okay, so this thing right here is the one that you want, so that it reads page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, not going up and down, side, side. Okay. Spacing, this I'll explain a little bit later. Spacing, columns too, that's fine. And then we'll just say okay. Usually for this thing I would put the spacing as 0, but I'll show you some other ways, another way to get to the 0 without putting this in if you just happen to miss this. Okay, so there is my 2 pages, page 1, page 2. Okay, as soon as we have this on, we do kind of want to bring out the navigator so that you can scroll through and zoom in and out and all that, and that might be easier than going through other functions. But whatever you feel comfortable is fine by me. Also, view the rulers. I set view rulers so that you could show that show where you're going to put the guidelines, what size typical things are and such. Notice that if I click on artboard 1, the 0 starts there, 0 starts there. If I click on artboard 2, notice that the ruler starts back on each page. So that should be handy so that you don't have to calculate all these other things. When we work on InDesign, I don't think it does that, or we have to find a way that does that so that it will be easier for us to look at. Okay, so this is basically facing pages of the book. Okay, so when you open your portfolio, that's what it's going to look like. And it does have a little space. What I want to do is, well, let me demonstrate something. If I have a text or image, okay, this text or image, if it just happens to fall right on this gap, it may not, well, it won't print. Okay, so in case you do find a place where it does a zero bleed printing service, I think Carpe Diem had it at one point, those will be missing. So what I want to do is to try to, as much as possible, get this sheet and this sheet right next to each other. That's why when you set up your new document setting, you want that spacing that we talked about to be 0. But if you just happen to miss it, you can always click on the artboard button and then activate whichever button and then just move this on over so that it touches the other sheet. If you did that, you know that all this stuff that you happen to put in will be whatever. Now, mind you, try not to, or actually I recommend that you do not put stuff important as series of text or paragraphs right in the spine of your book, because if you do have a spiral bind, you are going to always have that space, right? So it's always going to look split. If you are putting images that crosses from one page to the next, try to concentrate the main important part of the image pretty much right on one side or the other, and then some of the insignificant part, like landscape or some slough space, off to where the spine is. That way, you're not splitting the most important part of your image in half. Okay. Get rid of that.